So for everyone here, I titled this the 2025 checklist because every year around November and December, we get our most attention. Everyone says, next year I'm gonna do this thing, it's gonna be this big, change in my business, but a lot of times what I find out is a lot of people don't have their structure set up. So my goal for today was that all of you will have your structure set up by the end of this meeting. I want it to be tactical, I want you to walk away with something, I don't want this just to be a big motivation session. So, just by show of hands, everyone here a realtor, lender? Is Jay the only lender?
I hope so.
Sorry. Okay, so everyone else is a realtor, correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this whole slideshow is really aimed towards realtors and how to brand themselves, strictly talking through social media. So to give everyone an idea of who I am and kind of how I got into this, I went to Kent State from 2016 to 2020, and I actually got a job in social media because I couldn't believe it was a job. So the university was willing to pay me to promote student events. So at that time, everything was just photos and text. There really wasn't any video, and everything was about 140 character caption. But after doing that for a few years, I realized this is cool, but I'm not doing it to help any businesses. And if I'm gonna do this forever, I need to learn how to help businesses. So I got a job in 2019, it was an internship, doing paid ads for the car dealership. So I went from doing written organic posts to now managing $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 budgets per month for GMC dealerships. So it was a very big take of responsibility, but it got me to learn how to make videos, how to set up lead forms, and how to actually target an ideal customer, not just post openly to the world and not know who it's gonna hit. As time went on, doing this job, I was liking it, but I hated the car industry. It was just a very sketchy world, a lot of characters I didn't want to interact with.
Hey, wait a minute.
And for me, it was something where
You guys are the exception. You guys are the exception.
I buy a car from you guys.
We do 20 years in the car.
So you've seen it. I mean, you know how it can be. And so after I kind of got stressed by that, COVID also hit. So I had these 6 companies I wanted to work for, and they all went under. So I just spent 3.5 years planning of this is what I thought life was gonna be, for all of it to crumble down and have to quickly change. So I started my own company. I really didn't have a lot of logic behind it other than I wanted to help business owners with a skill I had, and I didn't know what else I was gonna do for work. So I did it for about a year. I'm very freelance. Whoever would work with me, I would take it, and it was just very stressful. I couldn't really find my own niche of who my best clients were. And in 2021, there was a certain realtor that I kept meeting with to try to pitch paid ads to. And she kept saying to me, I want to do video, I want to do video. These vertical videos are what everyone's talking about doing. And at the time, my girlfriend had a thrifting, resale Etsy business, and she was reaching 100,000 people a month just on TikTok and Instagram vertical videos. So there's kind of this moment in my head where I was like, all these realtors are saying they need one thing. I have a person here who can do it, and I just need to be that bridge. So that's what led to us starting Reshape Social, where we really just started niching only in the real estate space. We work with realtors, brokers, people like Jay, home inspectors, design firms, basically anyone that makes money selling or renovating a house. We usually work with at least one of those roles. And to this day, I want to speak from my experience mostly, but we have helped 75 plus business owners with doing their strategy, editing, posting for them, full management. But the big thing I want you guys to notice out of that is 54 of these started by me sending a DM on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or TikTok. So almost 3/4 of my business has come from what we're gonna talk about today. This is the thing I want you all to think about. I think everyone knows that there is an opportunity for your business with social media, but the how to do it and what to do is where I see most people struggle. So I pulled 2 little graphs in here because I think this will confirm what a lot of you have felt. This was from 2020. I think it was 97% of home buyers used the internet in their search, which we could all probably agree that makes sense. COVID, people are on their phones. This was from last year, and now the number's 100. So that's not a big shift, but that should tell everyone in the room that when someone is gonna hire you or potentially buy your listing, they're always going to the internet and they're gonna go look at you digitally before you ever shake their hand, see them at an open house or anything like that. I think something with Cleveland, and let's call it the west side of Cleveland specifically, that everyone has an opportunity with is we're in what others call a past market. Meaning places like Los Angeles, Houston, Dallas, they're doing things that they've been doing for 4 to 5 years that most in our market aren't even doing consistently today. A lot of that is being confident and outspoken about your business, being willing to share it with your personal friends and family, and then being confident about what you do. These are all things that people in Ohio and throughout the Midwest struggle with, and I was one of them. I went down to Tampa for a huge creator conference in January, and within 5 minutes of talking to the guy running the thing, he said, "Where are you from?" I guess it's in the Midwest. He said, "Detroit, Milwaukee," and I was like, "No, Cleveland." And he's like, "Yeah, I can tell." And I was like, "Why do you say that?" He's like, "I looked at your Instagram." He goes, you don't brag, you don't say what you've done well, you're just kind of generally informative, but you're not really talking as confident as you do in person. And it bugged me because he was right. Like, I genuinely, when I'm in rooms like this, it's very easy for me to talk to you all, share my opinion, get you motivated, but I wasn't doing that with my content. I was still worried about what people thought. I was worried about like 2 to 3 high school friends, not all of the potential business owners I could work with. And I let that hang me up for 2 years while I was doing it for people like Jay, other realtors, other business owners. So I come as a guy who didn't do it for 2 years while we did it for everyone else. So just to ask everyone in the room, how many of you feel like you are actually making enough content consistently? Does anyone feel like they're doing that? So for everyone in the room, I guess I should know, how many of you have even posted, let's say, once in the last week by a show of hands? Okay, once in the last month, everyone? Okay, in those posts, how many of you did a video? How many of you did a video where you were talking in the video? Okay. Why do you think that was easier for you to do, or was it not easy for you to do?
I've been doing it for years, man.
Yeah.
Like Russell put a guy in front of us named Tony Giordano who's in LA, and he wrote a book called The Social Agent 2.0. And he talked to us about the importance of social media and specifically video, and I believed it. And I did lots and lots of videos, but I was never really consistent. So I do a thing every Friday on video.
Okay, so scheduling. This, I mean, we'll get into this later, but I hear like you have a clear time when you're going to do it, right?
Otherwise, I wouldn't be consistent.
Yeah. How many of you think consistency is like probably the hardest factor? Most of the room. And does that come down to, let's say, topics? Does that come down to I'm always serving my clients, so this feels secondary, or like? Feel free to spit anything out. What do you think is the real reason why consistency is hard?
Confidence.
Confidence. In self or topic, or both?
Both.
Both. How many of you think confidence in self is the leading issue? Okay. How many of you think that you actually run a good business though? Okay. So as a guy who does a lot of sales calls with people who I will honestly say are running immoral businesses, you all need to remember that like if you're just doing the right things, maybe it's not the volume you want, but if you're a good person, you're not screwing people, and you don't have a bad track record, you have to remember like that in itself puts you above a lot of people creating content. Like one of the things I don't share about publicly because I don't want to attract more of it is how many people have done something really bad in their business, they want to fix public perception, and they think working with a company like me is a way to do that. And it's something I have to vet very hard because when I see someone coming in saying, here's what I want to do, here's what I want to talk about, I want them to match up. Like when Jay reached out to me, it was pretty clear what he wanted to do. He said, I'm starting this new company, I want to make sure everyone understands what I'm doing, and I want to highlight more of the people I work with. And then I talked to him, met him, and I was like, yeah, that lines up. So you want to make sure that whatever your good business is doing, your content should just be a mirror of that. It doesn't always need to be this huge creative, new project. So out of everyone, I know you created content. How many of you are actively direct messaging your friends or family on social media? How often are you doing it?
I would say at least do it a few times a week.
Okay, and what kind are you? And you're not going for the sale. You're usually just, I'm assuming, checking in, seeing how they're doing.
Yeah, I usually check in unless I see that they've commented on something like that has to do with the house sales
Yeah.
or whatever. Then I definitely will DM them about that. But usually it's just like checking up. I'm annoying, and now I make sure I say happy birthday to everybody on Facebook.
That's huge. Yeah, seriously, like that is
stuff
one of
like
those
that.
things. No excuse for anyone. Like if you aren't saying happy birthday to everyone, like it does it for you now. So all you gotta do is do that. But I guess I'm curious for you, what
we
is
don't even have to type it.
Yes.
Yeah, just pick the right emoji
Yeah.
combo that you feel like is
Yeah.
acceptable and said happy
I mean,
birthday.
that's pretty, right.
What have you learned doing the DMs about people's willingness to answer there, maybe as opposed to a cold call?
Well, I've gotten actually like almost all of my business from Facebook this year. And one thing I've learned is I try to pay attention to like what my friends and family are commenting on. Like I had a friend this year, I saw her commenting on another realtor's post. So I was like, you know what? I'm DMing her, and
Yeah.
I got the house sale out of it, even though she was commenting on all her stuff consistently. I was like, okay, well,
And so you saw signs of intent.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is the one thing that's like an overall message I want everyone to remember. The more you post content and do things like DM people, nothing really is cold. You're actually warmer than you imagine because there are certain people that I think don't know me, and I meet them at a networking event. They're like, "Hey, I like your podcast. I see your videos." So it's like in my head, I would have said they're cold, but like in your experience, if you're putting anything out there and you're seeing real estate, that's probably an easier conversation, right?
Right.
Yeah. Who else said they're actively messaging? Okay, what does that look like for you?
I send all my happy birthday messages on direct like
Yeah.
almost everybody responds that way.
Yeah. How many of you have one that's not on social media, but just a genuine follow-up plan with past clients? I don't know if it's like monthly, quarterly. Do all of you have do you have a rhythm for that? What's your in-person rhythm or maybe phone call rhythm? How often?
I used to do it quarterly, but then I found when that next quarterly call came up, I'm like, shit, I just called this guy. What am I saying? So then I spread it out to a half. And it's just, looking at my CRM and see what notes I took last time and sort of picking up from there, seeing how things are going, whatever, if they had any interesting things they told me last time around, then I'm gonna follow up on that and show them that I care.
Yeah, and I think that, like the showing you care thing is way bigger than we all imagine, because like everyone in this room can probably agree your phone rings too much, right? You always feel busy, there's always something to answer. Most people that aren't entrepreneurs are getting 1 to 2 messages a day, husband or wife, close friend, parent or family member. So when you're coming in, you have to remember, even though to you that's maybe 1 of 50 messages you're sending, you could be the first person that wasn't their direct family that actually talked to them on social media in months. So like remember the weight of you reaching out, even if it's not to sell that home, is probably way higher than you're imagining. And that's why I put this in here. Like it does go down in the DM, like that's where business happens. You want to brand yourself publicly where people can get to know you, trust you, like you, but when you're actually trying to convert, it happens here. And then I kind of tie this into the next point, which is people are always going to check who you are before they give you money. So when you're posting online, almost every client I'm guessing you've had, if they're on social media, they're gonna do a phone call with you or they're gonna meet you in person, but they are definitely going to go watch your videos, they're gonna see what your posts look like, and that's where they're gonna make really quick opinions of you. And that's one of those things where it's important to kind of have a mix. And like Jay and I have been working on this where you want to have some that's just, here are my wins, here's things I've done, here's my beliefs or opportunities that are here, but then also I'm a human. Like the I'm a human part is where most business owners miss because they get so focused on, I need to make my business content, I need to educate, I need to share my wins, and that is what you need to do. But after you do all those things, you still have to remind them that you're a real person. And so I think that's where like everyone's gonna be different on what they share there. Like for me, if anyone's friends on Facebook, my dog is on my timeline every other day. But that's so that I can balance my educational content with that so it doesn't drown both out. I just wanna ask the whole room, if we were to leave here this week and there was one thing you could take away, how many of you can genuinely say in your market there are more than 5 people really doing well on social media? Like in this market, thinking of other realtors, maybe not even your brokerage, can you think of 5 that you're seeing every single day? Okay, so this is one of the few markets in the country where the answer is gonna be no. And so I need you all to see that as your opportunity. It's like we're in a market where you can do this and no one's doing it. Like when I go to Tampa or I go to Orange County, everyone has 5 Alexes following them around with a camera. And it's weird, you think that it's like unnecessary, but the thing is if you look at how many people are seeing them on a monthly basis, it's probably take this whole room combined times 5 for one person. So it's just, you have to remember the attention is here in markets like Cleveland. We just aren't trained to think that way because it's not a big media market.
So when you do videos, do you mostly, like, would you recommend, I know how to post and mix in my family life, but like making a video and like not just talking about real estate, like, do you recommend posting like videos about your like life too?
Yeah, I think you have to.
Yeah, like I don't know, like I know how to make videos about like real estate or like posts mixing in my family, but it kind of feels unnatural to like.
And that so
you know what I mean?
Yeah, what you're hitting on is like everyone is going to have their own boundary of what do I show personal and what do I not show personal.
Yeah.
And I think there's a big mistake that happened like a year or 2 ago when like short form video got popular, which is people would say everything's content. But when you think everything's content, all of a sudden now nothing is too. Because now you're documenting things you don't want to document. You feel that confusion of like, am I really going to video us at the zoo?
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to pick what are you willing to share and what are you not. And so like for Jay, an easy one was like, how do you give back to the community? That wasn't necessarily him going into the community and doing those things, but it was talking about what those things are. So that if someone wants to know who is this guy outside of work, oh, here's how he's tied to the community. So that's an example of, I would say, personal, where you're not necessarily crossing a privacy discomfort, but you are letting people know something about you that has nothing to do with the loans you can offer. And yes, I do think video is a better way to do it, but you have to remember it's not always about what you show, it can also be what you say. So like if there is some really big fun family event you're doing, it doesn't necessarily need to be like a recap where you're like in your kid's face with a phone. What it could be is like, I had a great time at this place this weekend, and you're just overlaying a couple pictures of, oh, here's us standing as a family. People are still recognizing your voice, they're getting that relationship with you, but you're also not videoing too much to where you're losing the present moment that you did it for.
Yeah.
Does that answer it?
Turn off my phone here.
What was that?
Said I did a video of turning off my pool heater because it made me sad. Yeah.
End of the year.
With pictures and then my video of bye bye BB.
And then it's gone.
She gone.
Okay, so this is something that I want everyone to like get their phones out. This is gonna be like our first interactive slide. So everyone has Instagram installed on their phone, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this entire slide is gonna be who are you and how do we make sure that first impression is crystal clear. So when everyone's got Instagram up, just let me know, throw a thumbs up, say it's up. Okay, if you don't have it on your phone, if you have notes, I'm gonna have you write it out so you can implement it. Top point here, like if you look at this, I've made it very crystal clear, like what it is that I can do. We help you create with our Done For You system. I'm a host of a podcast, clear call to action, book your 15-minute needs assessment. I don't need any other things in there that can come out through my content. So the one thing I see the most is people have bios that are from when they were not business owners. Maybe it was from college, maybe it was from when you were just doing something else and your Instagram was for personal purposes. So like random song lyrics, your college grad year, your motivational quotes, like you don't need those in there. That is not the place to have it. You want it to be a very clear, here's what I do and how you can work with me. And so there's a whole concept of, have you heard of the anyone Google's XYZ formula? No? Okay, so this is something we learned about in college, but it was basically a tool so how you can get companies to look at your resume better, but it applies to business owners very well. So the formula is I help X, which is your ideal client, do Y, which is gonna be the service you offer, so that they can Z, and that's the positive outcome of working with you. So I put one in here for realtors, and I want you all to try to write this, and we're gonna go around the room and kind of help each other. So this is like an example of a realtor I work with in Florida. I help recent empty nesters find their best home for the next chapter of their life so that they can enjoy a home much better suited to their new lifestyle. Anyone can say I buy and sell houses, but that is talking directly to the person that they want their next sale from. So what I want everyone to do is let's take like 30 to 45 seconds and I want you to try to write your own XYZ formula. Who do you help? What do you help them with? And what is the outcome of you helping them? And the thing that might be overwhelming for some of you right now is you know that you have more than one avatar. So what I want you to do is pick the one that if you could only get more of those transactions, that's who you're writing to. You are not limiting others from working with you, you're just making it clear who you want to help the most. All right, so I'm gonna start just asking anyone who's already kind of wrote theirs or is in the middle of writing theirs, what are some statements we have in the bios?
Can I tell you what mine already is?
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's pretty
Yeah.
close. It just says my name and then real estate agent, Cleveland, Ohio realtor, my phone number, wifey and mom, and then it has my link tree with my link for like all my stuff in it with a home buyer estimate too in there.
So your avatar is clear, the call to action is clear, who you're trying to reach is not.
Okay.
So like, who do you think your ideal client is? Because I think putting the real estate agent's a good move, shows who you are. There's assumed help. You have your link tree, which I'm assuming has like booking links or things like that.
Yeah.
So now, in your own words, if someone were to read that, do you see how there's unclarity that they're the right client for you?
Yeah.
So who is your, just for everyone to listen, who is your ideal client? Like if you had to describe them. So thinking in your past, who were some of your best clients you've had?
I mean, all of them are, but that's hard for me because I work with like a lot of different people, I feel like. So I guess I would say, I mean, sellers are my favorite clients, so.
Okay, so do you have any success stat of like, I listed this and it sold 5K over asking or things like that?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I would say is I help homeowners in Northeast Ohio sell their homes for, I don't know, insert some dollar amount over asking. I mean, that's a high risk, you know, you don't want to promise that if you can't. But I would make it clear that sellers are who you help, and then you could also put a line, and I can help you buy your next property. So now when I'm coming to the page, it's like, oh, that's how she can help me. Because I think a lot of times when we say like, I'm a realtor or I'm a real estate agent, you all know what that means because you're doing it every day. There are some people out there that really, like as we've seen with the NAR thing, do not know what realtors do. They really don't. And it's your job to almost spoon feed it to them so that they know how to ask you for help. All right, what are some others? Just everyone read where you're at or where you're maybe stuck at. Where you at?
I help empty nesters who are looking to downsize while purchasing.
Perfect.
Stuff.
Yeah, clear. Yeah, I like that. What do you have?
I help buyers find their dream home and sellers sell their home quickly.
Okay. Outcome? Yeah.
I help buyers and sellers navigate their real estate journeys.
Okay. And what is the outcome? So this is a cool example because it's
and
like,
I'm there like I don't know
Yeah.
what's right next.
So I would maybe do something where, like, thinking back through all this, so you've helped people avoid stressful, big financial choices, right? So maybe I would say that, so they don't have to stress throughout the process. Like, that's the outcome they want to hear. And I think that's where it's like hard for us as the person doing the service to remember it. But the thing they would say you helped with is probably not what you would say you helped with. So if yours is like, I'm gonna help you navigate through this journey, it's because it's stressful for them and they don't want that stress. They want you to take that on and help them. All right, in the back, what do we have?
I think I could fix my flow of wording,
Yeah.
but I think the idea is good. Maybe you could tell me.
Yeah.
Okay. I help buyers and sellers leverage their real estate needs and acquire their home ownership dreams.
Okay. Yep. What do you dislike about it?
I could maybe make the flow sound a little bit more eloquent.
You could, but I think
Yeah.
you check the boxes. So that's
Okay.
kind of the real goal here today. Like, feel free to reword this, everyone in here, but I think the more important part is that you're understanding how to make it clear what you do, who it's for, and then what the outcome is. And I think you definitely covered that. All right, everyone else in the back row, what do you got?
I didn't write anything down, but mine's the same as Taj actually. I help empty nesters downsize their family homes into their forever homes.
Okay, now this might be interesting for everyone else to hear. Why do you two do that? What's the outcome that they would say you're doing for them? Like, what does that accomplish in their life? Like, is it easier living? Is it more, they're now more mobile?
Yeah.
So I would try to reverse engineer, like, what is the reason why they're doing that, and then write that out. And so you may not have to do that right now, but it's like, if they're saying I need to downsize, it's usually not financial, it's more of like, I'm getting older now, I want a ranch. So you're really, what you're not actually doing is you're not helping them downsize, you're helping them move into a home that suits their needs. And so that's how it's the same thing you're doing, it's just talk to it from their perspective. Okay, the last one that we're gonna talk about is how many of you have a booking link or something where they don't have to call or text you to set up an appointment? So you have one. Who else has like Calendly or any of those things set up?
Super cheap too, it's like $4.
Yeah. So no one has it?
What is it?
So if I were to go to your,
Like a
so
booking.
yeah, let's use a scenario right now where you all take my advice, you start posting content, and I want to buy a home and I live in Lorraine, and I go to your account. How hard is it going to be for me to get on your calendar? Do I have to message you multiple times? Do I have to hope that you reply? Do I have to ask for your phone number? Like, what does that process look like for all of you?
I don't know about you guys, but I'm always responding, so
But
I,
is there-
I
is-
respond, but I don't have a booking link. So like,
Okay.
if someone messages me, they're definitely gonna get a hold of me. But
Yeah. So
I
no
don't
one.
have it super crystal.
So let's do this. Everyone get your app store out, and I want you all to download Calendly right now. When I did this, it saved so much time in my head. And two, you're all at the mercy of your clients. It's Calendly. Yep. Yeah, and the reason why I encourage this for everyone is you are always going to be helping your clients and working on their schedule, which is fine. Like, that's what the service is you're in. But you need to have a way where they can get on your calendar without you doing any legwork at all. And afterwards, if any of you have questions on how to actually like set that up and optimize it, I am gonna have a booking link at the end that you guys can just see what it's like from my end, and it might make it a lot easier for you to understand why I'm pushing this. But I really think this is one of those things that, one, it does show that you're a legitimate business owner when you're not always just texting, calling, and answering. And like, it's good that you're responsive, like that's a good trait, but that's not sustainable when you hit growth.
Right.
And so it's like, there's also people that are very, let's call it antisocial shoppers, that they don't want to DM you and say, hey, is there a chance that they want to
Just
go,
click a link
they
and
go to a link, they want to
go
fill out the
away.
questions and know that, okay, when they call me, they already know.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm not gonna get into the weeds of it right now, but like on my call, if you wanna book on my Calendly, you have to answer how many times you post a week, what do you need help with on social media, and it's all these questions that actually make me serve that person better when they get on there. So for you, it could be something like, have you been pre-approved? If you have been, what is your budget when you look to shop? What are the areas you're looking to shop? And then what has your experience been in the past working with a realtor? And it feels like a lot. People usually get scared, well, if I ask them all these questions, aren't I pushing them away? But the reality is you're actually showing them that you're collecting info that will make it easier for you. And then when you do get on that call, you already have the data, you don't have to ask the boring questions, and you can focus fully on service. So that's why I encourage this so well. So everyone at least has it downloaded, so afterwards you can just set it up and put your calendar in, right? Yep, so we got this. I'm gonna just kind of go through a few nitty gritties here. You don't have to do these, but I did it and it actually made a surprising difference. 15 to 30 minute time windows. So the reason that that's important is we all know you're available for an hour or two, but when people see that, it shows desperation, and it kind of shows like, why do they have that much time available? So even if you're willing to stay on the phone with them for an hour, 2 hours, I'm not saying don't do that. Like if that's what it needs to get the sale done, to take care of your client, stay on the phone for that long. But you want to do it to where they understand that this is just for them to initially talk to you. And you will actually, I've seen this across many accounts, you will have a higher booking rate when you do this. And then the second one is ask all your boring questions. I was just talking about this. Any question that is not really a conversation builder, it's just stuff you need to collect to help them. Do that on the front end so that when you're on the call, it's way easier to dig on like what actual objection is this person facing. Because if they fill all this out and their one line says, I wasn't pre-approved, you now know going into that conversation, we're not gonna go look at 10 houses. You need to talk to Jay. It's like those are the kind of things that you can have before the call even starts. This is gonna actually get into like really like what to do now that the structure is set up. So this is something I want everyone to make a clear plan for 2025. Truthfully, you should all start today. But if you're gonna do this in a structured manner and you're gonna make commitments, like I'm gonna post on Friday, like you need to know what you're doing first. And this is, yeah.
Are you gonna give us copies?
Yeah, I'll send a copy to everyone after this. So like, don't feel like you have to write too much down. Just make this interactive, make this as question asking as possible because you can have all this afterwards. Okay, so in the beginning, so for a lot of you in this room, you're really not in a position where you've been consistent. So what you need to first start with is just document the boring stuff. Showing the house. I'm hosting an open house on Friday. Let everyone know about that. If you're looking at the MLS in the morning, show the MLS, talk about what you're looking for your clients. Like these are all things that are boring and everyday to you that your clients don't actually probably know you do. They just know that, hey, he has these houses ready to look at, or when you say you're gonna list it for them, they kind of understand your marketing, but they don't fully get what it is. So the more you can just keep putting that on your timeline. The goal isn't always to go viral. It's that when they do that check of your account and they're seeing, is this realtor the one I want to work with? You have a resume there of, wow, I can trust this person before I even talk to them. How many of you in here would say documenting is difficult, or I don't know what to document? Yeah. And where do you think that comes from? Like what, and let me just, so for anyone who raised their hands, what do you do on a typical, let's say Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.? Like what do those activities look like?
Different each week.
But like give me an example of some recurring ones.
Show houses.
Okay, showing houses.
Jump on MLS every morning. I know it's
Emails,
posted.
calls, follow up.
Okay. How many of you think that you clearly understand or have explained the story behind your past sales? Not a just sold graphic saying, oh, this sold for $250, but like, hey, here's what this client is suffering with, and this is what I did to help them. Have any of you done that? Okay, so yeah. I think that is like the easiest place to start because you're actually gonna go backwards through your transactions.
Can I just add something real quick?
Yeah.
So I think that more important now than ever too with the whole NAR thing going on, I think that realtors and everybody in this room talking about the value that they bring is completely different now, and that value add is so much more important to explain with stories than like how you actually had an effect on that client, that transaction, and made it happen. Because we all know that even the most perfect transaction has a story to it, that you had to probably overcome something they all just don't close, right? So I think that showing that value really sets you up to make the, the perceived notion of clients having your commission be negotiable now. I think that turns, you know what I mean? That changes perception and creates an easier conversation.
Because especially on the buyer side, like if let's play fully into the fear setting. If someone goes, why am I paying you to help me buy a house? The easier way to handle that, instead of having some grand script or argument, is look at the 15 other buyers that paid me on my social media and how I helped them. That should give you a good idea. And if you still don't see the value, let me know what I can do to help you. But even if they've seen 10 transactions, 20, they don't know what any of that means. So they want to know like, hey, what did this buyer actually want help with? So if it's like they needed this back patio with a yard with a fence, like hone in that was what they needed, and throughout your whole search, that's what you found because that's what they want to hear. And those things to all of you are like, oh, that's a minor detail. To that person, that was the only thing they wanted in their house. And so I think that's also on you as a service provider to actually understand what did I do for that client, and then how do I just share that publicly. So how many of you would think that would make you nervous to make a video like that? Does that seem easier than like other pieces of content where maybe you're like more social or doing like a business collab type thing? Okay, so everyone agrees that the videos, just telling the past stories is an easy place to start. Okay, so I would say start there, and then once that's something like you have your Friday routine and you're consistent, then you can add creativity. But don't add creativity first. Like that's a recipe for burnout and inconsistency. So once you've started making those videos, that's where you start collaborating. And this is something like Jay and I will make an open opportunity for anyone. Like if you need to make a video with your lender of like, hey, here's the questions my clients ask, we can do that after this. But you all have businesses you're already working with on a daily basis that people don't know. Like for example, you're all realtors. Who's gonna inspect the house when I'm doing this? What does this title company do that I'm supposedly paying money for? Like you need to just take the entire people that they're gonna meet and ask questions about and then bring them on camera and let them just answer all the questions. Because after 2, 3, 4 months of creating content, you should actually have an ecosystem of questions and answers to where when someone asks you, you're actually just forwarding them videos you've already made. Because then what that also does is it pulls them right into your funnel to where they're on your socials, and then assuming you have a clean back end and you email people or you have follow-up times, you're gonna actually start bringing new people in just from the people you've already helped. Okay, and then this is the one that I'm gonna give a little advice to. You don't have to do this, but I will tell you confidently that even if you're posting, none of it will matter if you're not doing a little stuff like this. So just 10 minutes of outbound every morning. Like everyone has 10 minutes, and I think a lot of people underestimate that those 10 minutes can be wildly leveraged. So what I encourage if you're a realtor is, everyone knows the Facebook groups, right? How many of you have seen like Moms of Lorraine or Parents of this school district? Like if you're not participating in those, there will be another realtor that does. Like plain and simple, and that's just your choice to do that or not do that. I think also, big one that not a lot of people do is they don't go to the Facebook events section. So like a lot of people host these pretty big events in neighborhoods that have 100, 200 people, and it's not like you're thinking, oh, I need to go market and put signs there. But if you can start showing up to these or even making posts in those groups saying, what time is this? You're getting your name into the communities you actually want to serve. And with social media especially, you have to remember, this is a farming activity. It's not always a hunting activity. So yes, you might find someone like you did with intent, saying, hey, I'm looking at buying a house. And yes, you can be very, straight for the sale. But with most people, you're just trying to start a relationship in a place where you know they're in your ideal community. And then there's 2 examples here. So this is Jay actually talking about one of the recent transactions he had. And what was surprising is there were a lot of people that said they've been in a similar pain point. And it wasn't him talking about the pain point, it's him talking about a past client. And then for me personally, I've created about, on average, 4 to 6 posts a week on my socials this year. And I don't know if you guys can read it in the back, but this is what the DMs look like when you're actually creating enough content that people know what you can do. So this was maybe a year ago. Jay did a piece of content with someone else we work with, and I was like, hey man, your video did well. I was just letting him know. He said, thank you, sir, I appreciate it. Didn't talk for months. And then, hey Alex, if you had time this week, I'd like to start posting and doing more with my new brand, but I have a lot on my plate in busy season. Let me know if you have time, thank you. I had done a good enough job, selfishly, posting content, sharing that if time is a pain point for you, that is something we can help with. So what I was doing in that video was just farming. I was just showing a pain point, showing a solution. I had no idea Jay was gonna watch it, but I knew someone out there was gonna relate to that pain point. And that's kind of the pill you have to swallow when you make content, is like, the person may not respond today, they might not respond in a month, it might be 3 months, but you need to keep doing it consistently enough that when that is time for someone to need that service, you just wanna be frontline. You're not always convincing someone to buy or sell a house. It's just when you're ready to, I want you to do it with me. That's what you're selling. Okay, so these are some of the biggest names I could pull from mostly real estate and just in general, but I think there's an overwhelming theme here that brand is something most underestimate. I think we all assume people know way more about us than is really the case. And the more you nurture this brand, the more others can refer you easier. And the reason I say that, like with a huge emphasis, is that when I didn't post for 2 years, I did get referrals. Some business owners would send me others they knew. But the second I made my first, let's call it like week, where I was doing 3 or more posts, I had a client who I knew was happy with me say, I can finally refer you to people now. And in my head, I'm like, what do you mean now? We've worked together for 6 months. All he needed was an easier ability to show others what I do, because it's too much labor for him to refer and explain it himself. It would just be easier for him to forward an Instagram page or a Facebook page to that person. And so for you, it's like, if you've done a good job with your past clients, they probably would speak very highly of you. You're just not really giving them an easy chance to do so to their cousin, to their friend who lives down the street. And that's why you're doing this at scale. So I want this to be super open-ended now. Like, one of my favorite things to do is just rip on content ideas with people, because everyone has a different business. So I want to go around the room and I'm going to make everyone answer at least once of what is some content that you've thought about making, but maybe you don't fully know how to do it or you don't know how to execute on it. Start it off.
All right. So I'm in relocation for a brokerage, and I've been really wanting to do a relocation video. So I've done 2 probably in the last 2 months, and I'm like, why am I not talking about this? Like, you know, you can get a really nice referral paycheck for 5 minutes of my time, and why am I not doing it? So I listed with a friend of mine here, and then we got them with an amazing agent in Alabama, and it was flawless. And the commission was bomb. So why am I not telling everybody about this other, or, you know, what else I can do for them other than here?
Yeah. So do you think that's because you're not time blocking it? Do you think it's like, yeah.
100.
Yeah, it's good. So let me ask this open-ended question. How many of you think to make 3 to 5 posts a week consistently, how many hours a month would that take via planning, editing, posting, all of that? Like, just throw some time out.
4.
For me,
4 hours?
all week. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'm really good at making posts. I'm not good at making videos.
Okay. So 4 is about right. Like, and that's honestly, that's assuming you're doing the planning and some of the editing yourself. So for everyone else out there, like if you just kind of have a general idea of your topics, this should not be a very like time intensive task. It's an emotionally intensive task. It's coming up with like, is this really something I'm gonna say 3 different ways? You know, does this story make sense? Am I saying it the right way? And it's always helpful to have another like set of ears or eyes doing it. So if you're not at the point where you want to like actually work with a company like ours or bring staff on for it, like partner up, have someone else behind the camera and talk to each other, because it's so much easier to do it that way than to kind of do the I'm hiding in my office, I'm trying to make all these videos, I think I sound weird.
Can I just talk about that for a second? Because I like would post, I would try to post like once a week, but him holding me accountable to making time for it was a game changer for me. And then what we do is we shot, almost a month's worth of content.
A little over.
Inside of an hour and 20 minutes.
Whoa.
So when they're just quick hit videos, and I stopped thinking about it. So he took that away to where he's like, okay, we had a meeting first, wrote out exactly what I was gonna talk about. So there was no like, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for?
There's no creative.
Improv.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have to think about topics and then do all these things on top of shooting and then doing it all myself. And then telling myself, all these videos suck. I need to redo every single one of them. This is exactly nothing the fuck I wanted to say. And then whatever. You know what I mean? So it's been awesome since we started.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, go ahead.
When he did it, that first video, I was hit him up. I was like, damn.
I know.
Well, that's
Like,
what
look
you
at you, boosh.
I know, and
Yeah,
he
I was
posted for
like-
me, so I didn't even know it was coming out. And I'm just like, oh, thanks.
I
And then I
was
looked,
like,
and then you saw it before I did.
Dude, what's that
That's
last
exactly
video?
what
That was
I was
awesome.
I was still
Yeah.
working for another lender and I almost shared it. I was like, wait, I can't share this yet. No one knows I'm going there. I was like, this was so good. I almost just shared it
So
right
you
away.
sent me a DM though.
Yeah.
Killed it. That's right.
Yeah.
I actually got the
That's
2
what I-
appointments
that's what I said.
from the videos too because of it.
Yeah. So I think that's like the big thing for everyone to like take in is a lot of times this is really emotional risk more than anything else. Like Jay and I did a full planning session, probably 45 minutes to an hour, and the way we've done it now is we Zoom record all of them so that I can actually also work off the transcript data. Like everyone in this room knows ChatGPT is being used, but everyone's like hush hush, like how we're using it. What Jay and I did is basically got real deep for 1 hour. I didn't waste any time with notes, neither did he. We went fully in on what are your business goals, who are the people you're trying to market to, what are their pain points, and then we take that entire transcript data. I make my own version of the calendar, and then I take all of the goals that were in that ChatGPT call and make sure that my calendar aligns with Jay's goals. So anything that doesn't match up, we make it match it up. So that then when it's time for the videos to be shot, like Jay said, there's no question of why you're doing it. Like the one thing that will make people stop creating content is when they don't know why they're making it. We're all business owners, we all have a rational idea of like why are we spending our time the way we are. And if you don't have a plan, it literally does not make sense for you to make content. Because you in your head are like, well, I have to plan for 45, that's this side of my brain. I have to shoot for 45, that's this side, and I have to edit, and that's back there. And it's like, you have other things that are more ROI in the moment, so it's hard to actually like plant that seed. So that's what I would encourage to everyone is like, if you're not gonna work with a company, find an accountability partner. Like that is step number 1, and then from there, spend time to plan before you shoot. Because if we did not do that, it wouldn't have been an hour or an hour 20. It would have been 2 hours. Jay would have got burnt out in the middle. We would have went back to planning, and then at the end of planning, we would have been like, oh, let's shoot the rest next time. And that's why you have to have separate times for all these things, which is why I think regimenting is like the baseline of how to make this work. So everyone else in the room, what are things that you've maybe thought about wanting to make, or you saw another realtor make it, you're like, ooh, I should do that, but you didn't. Like, what are the areas you guys are struggling to execute?
Well, I have a guy who does videos on my listings, and I have been in one of them very, very briefly. And every time he shows up, I'm like, I'm gonna do it today. And then he gets there, and I'm like, I'm not doing it.
So plan. You don't have a plan.
No, I don't know, like, what to, I don't know. He does, you know, like a walkthrough video of the house or
Yeah.
whatever. And he has some realtors, he told me that, like, they have, like, a whole thing, they voice over the entire thing or whatever. I did finally get myself to, like, just, like, be in it and say, like, a one-word sentence.
Yeah.
Which took a lot.
It was emotional risk, right?
Yeah, it was just scary. I don't know. It sounds stupid, but
It's not. So, like, just so you know, like, I have not worked with someone who doesn't have that fear. Like, seriously, I'm that.
so that's something I want to do. I'm like, I want to start being in my listing videos. Like, why would I not? Like, you know?
Yeah, because you have to remember, like, your short term, you're paying for the listing to be marketed.
Yeah.
Why not pay? It's the same amount of money to have you in it,
Right,
to be that marketed as
exactly.
well. Because not everyone will remember the house, but they will remember you over and over.
Talking
and over.
about it, and yeah, exactly.
Okay, so inserting yourself in listing content. What about you? What's some of the struggles you've had?
So we've talked about like brand, like just building my brand, and my thing is like, I'm always sharing dogs that need adoption. I was trying to figure out like but I'm like, how do I even put myself in a video with that? Like go to the shelter and just be in the video? I don't know how to do it.
So what would the action be? You would want people to adopt dogs, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I would say probably a 30 to 45-second video about why you care about that, how someone can adopt a dog, and what that would mean for you and the dog as is. Because it's like, we all know what we want to have happen, it's just scripting, how do I say this in a way where it works? And I would guess the other fear might be if you're not posting enough real estate content, you kind of know in your head, like, man, if I make that dog video, I'm now the dog lady.
Right. Right.
So it's like, you want to make sure that what people assume with you is both. If I can help you with your real estate and I love dogs. So I think it's a both thing. What about you?
I make a lot of videos, I just never post them.
So it's the delegation factor. Yeah, like for me, like we have a full team, like we have 2 creative directors, 4 editors. Katie, my girlfriend, runs everything on like the actual management of it. And I had about 9 videos that my own team edited, and she goes, hey, are they not, like, why aren't they posted? And I came up with a clever excuse, oh, I was filming with Jay, it went too long today. And she's like, no, that's not why you didn't post it. And it's because I don't like how I sound. And we all do that because of a tiny little bone in our ear that makes our voice sound different than everyone else hears it. So like there is actually a huge benefit of like relinquishing that control so that you can stay more objective about being the creator, not the analyzer. Because like analyzing is needed, but not every day, not for every video. It should be over like a 1 month, 3 month timeline to just make sure like, is this the correct content I want to put out? So for you, it's probably like relinquishing that control, like, okay, if I'm making the videos, that's fine. Someone else has to post them because I won't do it. And then you have to be comfortable, like, oof, it's on the timeline, I can't delete it now, let it live. And then once you do that more and more, you'll realize that you can actually work on being a better creator. Because right now I can tell this is like a perfectionism thing, where it's like, if I make a great video but it sits in my shared album, I never made a bad video. But it's like, to make good videos, you actually have to post the bad videos first to even know what you didn't like about it. So for you, I think it's probably just letting that control out.
And Taj, I'm going through that right now, and it's really uncomfortable, bro.
That's so
Same.
that's
I do a lot of videos, I delete every single one.
Every single one.
I do that too. I'll delete them.
So let me ask you all this. If you were paying a company to post for you, and then at the end of every month you found out they were deleting content, would you ever talk with them?
I can do voiceover. Maybe that's a good way to start. I can do voiceovers, like no problem. It's when it's my face. Like I don't know. Like I get nervous.
You guys
and
can pay me, I'll
things
post
with
them.
it, so. Maybe that's an easy way to start though, because that's what I found. I could do voiceovers because you're not seeing my face at least.
But I think it's also one of those things too.
And I don't think it's as good as seeing your face though either. So.
And so then I always do this question with people, and I had someone do it to me. In your last real estate transaction where you got a commission check, did they see your face?
Unfortunately.
So it didn't stop them, right?
True.
So it's like you have to remember there's things that like we hate versus things the world never notices.
Yeah, true.
And like just to open up with everyone, I've had like several men that are like very successful reach out to me, do a strategy call, sign a contract, and ghost me for 2 months because they were getting a hairline surgery. And that was what held them up. So it's like we can all laugh at that and think that's funny, but that was like a real thing. That person was like, I'm not getting on a timeline until this changes. And here's the funny thing, I couldn't tell a difference.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, like you can't, I wouldn't have known unless he told me that. So it's like this thing that was a giant, I can't make content in his head. I didn't even notice after the big, probably 10K surgery. So that's why I share that with you all, is it's like that fear is there, only for you though. Like no one in this room has that.
But you know what's helped me is not a lot of people are doing it.
No.
So I'm like, okay, you can judge, but you're not doing it. So I don't give a
Right.
shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Now I've gotten like, just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I don't care. I've gotten mostly good feedback from it, and I don't care.
Yeah.
I think you've
I'm just
done
gonna keep
really
doing it.
good. I thought it was all scripted, and you're like, man, this guy's pretty good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
It's
didn't-
like Jeff says, you know, my
Yeah.
stupid video is better than the one you never posted.
Yeah, and I think that's like the big thing to like take in is we all, like especially myself, I used to think I was like gonna close all these sales because I wasn't making content and I could see what was wrong with everyone else's content. I didn't realize I was just being an annoying twerp in everyone's DMs saying like, hey, I know you're not doing this thing I'm not doing, and it's like no one's gonna relate to that. But for all of you, it's like if you can just give yourself that permission of like, if I'm gonna start putting myself out there and giving myself grace, you will have no energy to judge others, literally. Immediately, like Jay, you probably start experiencing this, where like, even if you see someone who looks like an idiot, in your head you're like, they're trying.
Yep.
Whereas maybe a year ago you'd be like, I can't believe this guy posted that. What's his, you know what I mean? And so it kind of, you shift how you perceive others. And I think for you right now, it's acknowledging the biggest thing you're doing that's hurting you is you're judging yourself harder than what any timeline really could.
Yes.
Like most people in this room aren't saying any crazy, harsh, hateful opinions, right?
No.
Yeah, so it's like if you're not doing that, like you really don't, I mean, it's that person's problem if they're gonna come in and say something mean. What about you guys? What do you think are some of the things that have held you back on the execution side?
I've never taken one video, I never even thought about it, I guess. So.
Yeah. So do you think most
I see
people,
people doing it, I think it's good, but that's about as far as it goes.
We're shooting one today, bro.
so yeah, why do you think for you haven't thought about even doing it at all?
I almost feel like that's less scary. There you go. Just go for it now. You have
Right by your car.
Yeah.
So if I can,
Now he's
Yeah.
gonna be analyzing his hairline.
I have posted over 100 videos somewhere. And I can promise you, the first time I did it, I felt and thought I looked like a complete tool. Now, all these videos later, I still think and feel like I look like a complete tool. But at this point, I don't really care, like Jay was saying, because I've done so many, and the thing is, if you start doing it and you do it consistently, you're gonna get feedback and you're gonna be very surprised and very happy about the positivity of the feedback, especially when you start getting feedback from places where you never expected it, and people are watching your stuff that you never would have thought of watched it, and they're going to tell you, or they're gonna say good job, and that's gonna give you motivation to just keep doing it. It's a promise. It's a promise.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one's really gonna
you
tell
are
you
gonna
you
judge
look like an
yourself and
idiot.
your
Yeah,
appearance
that's true.
way harder than anybody else will.
Yeah.
There's a good
And if-
chance you're gonna get better.
And to Alex's point, if a person comes on there and says something really shitty about what you're doing, what kind of an asshole is that? And who cares
Yeah.
about what their
Doing
opinion
business
is?
with
Honestly,
somebody
probably just gonna give you more attention if someone comes on there and says.
It really is, like one of the biggest things we've had to learn to like have a protocol for is when something goes viral, not in a good way.
Yeah.
Meaning like when people get a lot of hate really quickly, because it's not often the hate that people are scared of. When I've learned, it's what do I respond? We all want to say a mean, clever, witty thing back, but when you take that higher approach and just respond calmly, everyone that was watching, that's what they're
Yeah.
judging. They're not judging that someone said something mean to you, they're judging how you respond. Yeah. And then back row, what do you think are some others?
I keep meaning to do, I've been saying for probably like 4 years that I wanna do testimonial videos with my clients. Most of my,
Yes.
not all, some suck, but most of my clients are awesome and I think they'd be fine doing
Yeah.
it. I just never asked.
So is it
That's a
logistics?
great
Is it
idea.
like where do I set up the tripod? Where do I like put the camera?
No, I think by the time I get around to it, it's been so long since the closing because I'm busy that I was just like, I can't ask them that now, that's weird.
So let's reverse engineer it. Like a lot of people, it's the Trojan horse to talk to your past clients. Hey, I want to do a testimonial.
I don't mind that so
Yeah.
much, I just,
So, if I
I
may
don't wanna be
again,
weird about it.
I'm paying an agent on a team. We haven't done it yet, but I've given her, we've worked out a script, for lack of a better word, or just a handful of questions to ask. But for me, it was always a time thing, right? you know, setting this thing up, going there, setting up, blah, blah, blah.
It's another appointment.
There's 3 hours of the day that are gone trying to collect this video testimonial. But while I know the resolution won't be very good, we've set it up where, and we practice it so we'll know it'll work. She's gonna reach out by email,
Send it to him.
and if they agree, then she'll use Google Meets and record the Google Meets to ask those
Oh,
questions.
that's a good idea.
And so now we have the video testimonial. So once Abby does the first couple and we see how it turns out, obviously, I'm gonna send that to all you guys. Another thing I'm gonna do too is, you know, for team recruitment purposes, I'm gonna have Abby do the same thing with you guys, ask you a handful of questions about your experience. That was the idea I had for video testimonials.
Yeah, and I don't ever want it to be like, hey, tell everybody how awesome I am.
Right, that's the
It's
thing.
not that, yeah,
that's
I
the
don't want it
thing
to come
too.
off like that.
It didn't work for me ever in my head, you know, when I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna interview you and you're gonna tell the world what a great experience you had with me, right?
Right.
Because that feels icky as hell.
Yeah.
So if you have Abby, who is a neutral third party, and
Sorry, a
and,
little distraction.
She always like having someone else.
you know, and a neutral third party asks these questions, and there's no pressure on anybody to say or do anything. It feels a little bit better.
And I think it's all framing too, right? Like I think coming in saying, how did I make your experience better is very me.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go in and say, what were you worried about buying a home and what did we do together? They get to be the hero. Your job is just to be the guide. That's all you're trying to do. All right, so then this next slide here, I want you all to try this feature out. If you don't want to end up actually talking to me, just cancel the appointment after you set it. But I want everyone to walk through this because this is what all of your clients should experience when they want to book a time with you. So get your cameras out. I want you to scan this QR code, and I want to walk you through the questionnaire so you can quickly see how your brain works when you're booking this time. You're gonna go, oh, I'm answering these questions, I'm realizing my pain points, and then when we get on this call, I really have one goal with all of you. It's to find out where you need help. If we're the right company to offer it, I will make that offer. If we are not the right company, I will at least give you a plan of attack to either do it yourself or get into a position where you can hire eventually. Because all of us need to be doing it. If capital is not something you have, you do have time, and if you don't have time, you need to spend the capital on something to make this work.
Booked for 2027.
Okay, sounds hopefully I'll talk to that. All right, so I want to leave this open floor though. So does anyone have any other general questions of things I didn't cover or things that maybe you've just thought about but haven't executed on?
So my Friday things they're long form. They're usually 20, 30 minutes. They go live with it. And so I know that like shorts and reels are super duper popular. And I've even talked to like VAs for video editing and stuff, but they want more money than I'm willing to give them. And they want more content than I actually produce, right? To keep their people busy. I use StreamYard to do it, and they do their own, they have AI create shorts and reels, but they kind of suck. I don't know, any tips there?
Yeah, I mean, you have to commit to enough content that's going to work. So whether it's VAs, whether it's an American company, whether it's someone you hire for a full-time position, usually if you realize more than one person is suggesting that, it is a sign you need to make more content. And the hard part about long form being your guider is that when you do good long form content, it's going to be harder to pull short form structure out of it. Like I have a podcast, so I do that, and it's like some videos, I'm literally cutting off half of a person's answer because I need this to stay in 60 seconds and still make sense. So for you, it's probably like there needs to be some self-generated like one-to-one content, meaning like I'm filming this for a short, it's made as a short. And then when you're doing your long form, it's probably doing a better job of making it chapterized so that it's like, I don't know if there's one topic about reasons to buy in Lorraine. One should be like financial reason, one should be like family life reason, community, and then I don't know, add a third. So that if someone is to go in and chop there is even enough to chop. Because that's what's hard, is like we all think we make an hour of content, oh, the AI or an editor can find it. And like sometimes people send us 10-minute files and I just feel offended that they thought there was anything good in there. I'm like, this wasn't in our plan, this wasn't anything that we talked about. It was 10 minutes of really nothing. So I think that's where like topic planning is probably gonna be the thing that fixes all of that. Because then the more you go in with those topics, the more you know, this should at least have 3 shorts, this should maybe have 1 or 2, this should have 5 or 6 because I'm talking about it. And then for you, yeah, you have to probably make a real decision as a business owner of like, do I need to delegate on the editing, planning, or do I just need to delegate all of this so that I can focus on the thing I've proven to know works for me to make money? Because there's always that weird window where it's like I'm doing some of it, not all of it. And so I think it's like just pick a frequency and amount that one, you can afford and it's beneficial to your marketing budget, but two, it's actually enough. And that's where I think sometimes it hurts to hear, like I just hired an ads guy internally and I was like, oh, well, I'll just make 2 videos. He's like, no, we need 13 different hooks per 2 videos. And I was like, whoa, dude, that's like 50 some pieces of content. And he goes, yep. And so it was just, for me, it's like you have to understand the levels of volume to hit the goal that you're probably trying to achieve. And I think for you, it's like doing that 30 minutes is great, but you may actually need to do like 15 structured minutes versus a 30 that's comfortable to riff.
And Jonathan, that's what I think came out of our one-on-one, our first one-on-one. You were asking so many good questions I didn't give any thought to. Like I knew the outcome I wanted, I just didn't know the 15 steps I needed to get to that. And then, because I do long-form content with you, right? So it's like, I'm a talker. So I'm like, okay, like how do I take all that, everything I'm saying and then make it more concise, which is a big, I'm in sales, so I love to talk. And that was the toughest part for me. But like,
yeah, it's like how do you say more with less? Like that's the challenge.
That was the challenge for me.
Yeah. All right, any other questions? All right, so hopefully if there's one action you guys can all take from today, you should have a new account. Like take whatever we did on Instagram, apply it to all of your accounts, and then just start by documenting. Like seriously, just that alone will put you above so many others in the market. And then when you know it's time to like actually get that help, like please book that call with me and I can give you a game plan. And it's not one of those weird things where I'm gonna pressure you at the end, like you have to do this. Like if I can give you a plan today you implement on, so that in a year from now when it's time to delegate, the same as you, I just wanna be the person you pick. I'm not convincing you to work with me today. So I appreciate it guys, thank you.
That was great, thank you.